States. Now, so our dean went to meet him, and this guy said, hey, bring along that operations professor. So, of course, I went along. The dean went to play golf. I went to the warehouse. Okay? 2 reasons. A, I don't like to play golf. B, I enjoyed being in the warehouse much more than going to play golf. And what I realized was that the guys there told me a great story. They said, look, we're going to make money hand over fist. I said, why are you going to make money hand over fist? He says, we can see the environmental regulations coming along, and every regulation that comes, we're going to make money. So let's look at what happened. So there's a little drama here, and makes for a nice little story. So the first thing is that in this business, what really ended up happening is this was an industry which started off at 10 SEER, and what ended up happening is the US government in one shot increased the efficiency requirement from 10 to 13. Okay, I'll give you a little bit regarding the timing in the next page. So one fine day, they said after this day onwards, efficiency should go up by 30% in this industry. So what happened? Why 30%? Incidentally, the way it works, rule-making works in the United States, is that before you actually pass such a law, you got to go collect a lot of information, you got to do an analysis, you got to see whether it's feasible, etc., etc., etc. So the arguments that were made was, with 30% more energy-efficient air conditioners, effectively the savings of energy usage by this 30% reduction is equivalent to the consumption of 26 million households over this period. It'll reduce carbon dioxide gas emissions. It'll potentially generate $1 billion in savings, and would save construction of 12 power plants. What I want you to think about is, what does it mean? What does it mean for the world to become greener? It's not going to happen overnight. It means every product that's going to be made is going to have to be different. Every washer, dryer, toaster, computer. You would have heard today, if you check CNN, that California passed laws changing the energy requirements for all the appliances and the computers and the televisions that are going to be sold in California. Different than the rest of the country. Companies sort of make different televisions for California. Now, what's going to happen? Every country is going to do it differently, but as these regulations kick in, the products that are going to be made are different than the products we're making today. And most of us, if any product breaks, you've got to buy a new one that's going to be completely different. If that isn't a stimulus, what is? And that's a stimulus without a dime being spent. It's every one of us being required to do things, really, from an economist term, absorbing the externality that we cause the environment. So now, whether you're a green person or not, imagine the impact. So how did this actually manifest itself in the United States? It makes for actually a very interesting story. We actually have an interesting case associated with it. So again, what I'm hoping is, as you hear this little story, I'm also telling you a little story of how we faculty, I mean, of course we teach, but we're also researchers at heart. At the end of the day, we get excited about interesting problems. I'm also trying to get you to think about how we frame these things. And part of going to a university and getting a degree is also developing a train of thought, developing a way to sort of take something and logically ask a series of questions. So hopefully I'm giving you a little bit of a hint as to what this looks like. So the first thing to note is that this 30% increase in energy happened on the very last day of the Clinton administration. The very last day. Okay? Till the day before, the industry had thought it was 20%. He signed it on the last day and left office. Okay, so it makes for very interesting drama. He signed a lot of things on that last day, by the way. Those of you who are keeping track. What happened? 2 months later, a few months later, of course, George Bush was in office, and he said, hey, let's oppose this. How can this guy do this to us? So the Department of Energy, basically in response to a whole bunch of industry things, said, okay, let's hold on. Let's not believe this rule. Let's potentially sort of listen to the industry, because there was a new administration in town. Immediately the lawsuits started flying. Certain states opposed any attempt to roll back the regulation. Massachusetts, California, etc. Of course, we're now in lawsuit heaven. Time goes on up to 2004. The US Court of Appeals says what a president does, nobody else can overturn. It's a done deal. SEER 13, take it or leave it. The industry had 2 years to change the products. The deadline was 2006. 5 years from the signing, it becomes law. So what happens? Exactly on January 23rd, 2006, all production of the old equipment was mandated to stop. The next day onwards, only the higher efficiency products could be manufactured. But there's a little loophole. It only says manufacturing could stop. It said inventories could be sold. Okay? Now this is a small but very, very salient point. If I tell you, here's the deadline, and everybody likes the old one, by the way. It's a little smaller, it's a little less efficient, but it's cheaper. The new one is good for the environment, it'll save you money in the long run, but it's bigger, takes up more space, is more expensive. The distributor has both in stock. You're building a new home. You're sort of looking at which one do I want? Do I want to pay 20% more right now? Do I want to take the old one? Okay. So, guess what would happen? As you would expect, a lot of fun happened. Okay. Now, incidentally, one of the things, and I think this is really where perspectives across different areas matter. So, I went to this warehouse somewhere in 2005, and they had told me, look, 2006, this stops. And I said, oh my God, what's going to happen? Because here's what I could see happen, as you would anticipate. You would anticipate people building up inventories all the way to the last day, and then unloading it when the regulation hits, and all kinds of chaos while the new products and the old products all competed. And guess what? That's what happened. Now, why is it fun to study? It's the supply chain effect of a regulatory change. This is one regulatory change. Imagine the number of changes that are going to come between now and 2030. Here's what's going to come. The insulation is going to change. The roof tile is going to change. The drywall is going to change. The window is going to change. Air conditioning I also mentioned. Your refrigerator, washer, dryer, everything is going to get regulated. Everything is going to face this effect. Now what's going to happen? Firms are going to have to produce these new products. They're going to develop the technologies. They're going to have to compete in this market. I really think this is an opportunity. So, what have we been doing? So, what do? We're professors. So we basically said, let's understand this industry. One of the benefits of a business school is having a wonderful alumni base. And the best group that will talk to you is your alumni. So one of the reasons that CEU and Purdue and the rest of us want to have great alumni is that you're really an investment. You come take courses, and hopefully, if you've had good classes, you come back and talk to your professors. Most of the projects we do are students who call back and say, hey, my company faces this thing. Can you come down and take a look? And very often, that's the starting of a relationship. The framing of many things is, our perspective is, we want to learn about this example, but we want to generalize it conceptually to other examples. So as I tell my PhD students, if it's true in general, it's true in at least one case. Okay?